Hello, Rick here with the weekly review of Star Trek Discovery, episode 13 of season 2, Such Sweet Sorrow. There will be spoilers aplenty as we move into the final chapter of season 2. This was a pretty strong episode with quieter moments punctuating more rapid-paced scenes, and while there's no actual open combat, there is a constant calm before the storm tension that pervades the ships. I noticed multiple efforts to address potential plot issues, and character development beginning to wrap up as the crew begins to unify the seemingly disparate plot elements. However, there is one major issue that I can't ignore, and I'll get to that later. As a viewer, and with the luxury of time, we've been able to theorise and speculate since the season's beginning, and the final outcome is taking shape. We get to see a lot of the USS Enterprise in this episode, and my feelings on its look are mixed, but leaning towards the positive. This is a matter of personal opinion, as everyone has their own level of what an acceptable redesign is. For some, nothing short of a one-to-one recreation will do, and others couldn't care less. Honestly, I stand by what I've always said, that I would have preferred that they take the original design and just soup it up. This seems to be where they started, as the layout and colour scheme of the bridge is the same, and there are numerous references in design to the old style, with banks of lights and the banisters, but the design comes off as far more spacious, and I still don't like the view screen choices in Discovery in general. That being said, the turbolifts contain that handle to accept commands, and the sound effects were true to form, and we never saw the bridge pre-overhaul, so there's room to squeeze in a retcon. So, in brief, the plot has Section 31 under Control's influence closing in on the Discovery, and the Enterprise for the Sphere's data. Discovery evacuates to the Enterprise, but their attempts to scuttle the ship fail, as the Sphere data, let's face it, the data itself is basically an AI, is protecting itself within Discovery, and has raised shields. Burnham also touched the time crystal, and on seeing the conflict, decides to rebuild the time suit and just drop Discovery off in the future. First, they need to supply the crystal with power. In a meeting to spitball ideas, Georgiou suggests detonating a star to harness its supernova. When everyone points out that this could potentially destroy lives, Yo's delivery of a complete lack of care is hilarious, and having everyone shoot down her notion was brilliant. This, coupled with her pointing out that Burnham has a martyr complex to try to persuade her to stay, makes me think Georgiou just enjoys being a massive internet troll. Like when she tries to surprise Pike, literally as he's mid-transport with her true origin. I think someone must have told him off screen, as he's really not surprised, but it's a state secret, so he plays along. I've been warming to her character as the series has progressed, but I still don't see she has any motivation to protect the Federation, so I can't see her at the helm of the organisation. Episode 13 ties in with the short trek series Runaway, as we return to Zahir and its energy source engineer genius Queen. It's fun to see Captain Pike put on the whole Federation official contact airs, greeting Mihani Iki Hali Kapo, I think her name is, in her native tongue, despite her being more excited to see Ensign Tilly. Her interactions with the crew were fun to watch, especially her shooting down Georgiou, and Jet Reno's appreciation for her ingenuity. The scenes pertaining to the plan to time scuttle Discovery are all delivered with a sense of urgency, but the show remembers to slow down appropriately to allow the audience to catch the breath with the cast and crew. Living up to its title, this episode is all about partings. Stamets and Culber come to a resolution and acceptance of Hugh's new outlook on life, making a touching farewell to each other and parting on amiable terms. Sarek and Amanda travel to the Discovery to bid farewell to Burnham, and they have some very Vulcan-human interplay. Sarek expresses that he will attempt to look out for Spock despite his son's wishes, issues that persist well into Spock's later life. Tyler also says his farewells to Burnham and makes the wise decision to remain in whatever is left of Section 31 to prevent Control from re-emerging when they're all finished up. That, and he seems to have a plan, which he clues Pike in on before the credits, so I'm glad he seems to have a role to play still, as Tyler's not had much to do these past few episodes. The rest of the crew leave tantalising looks into their characters as they record their farewells. I hope these get expanded on in the future. Obstacle after obstacle rises to impede their plan. First with Discovery refusing to be destroyed, then Burnham has to learn how to use the suit, then the power issue, then the fact that the crystal will burn out when overcharged, and for the most part Discovery does a good job of providing adequate time to show the crew working to overcome them, like Burnham being shown learning the suit's functions from her mother's logs. From the get-go, Discovery's long-range communications have been cut off by Control, in a similar fashion to the USS Enterprise's issues at the start of the season, but if I had to guess, Enterprise had its systems decimated by a future Control while investigating the red bursts, while the Discovery is only subject to current Control's more limited capabilities. But here's the kicker for me. Maybe I missed it, but why couldn't they call in the fleet to assist? Sure, comms are down, but Sarek's ship made it from Vulcan to Discovery easily enough and back again. The Enterprise has been refitted to compensate, and the spore drive is working, to a point. Send a messenger. I can only theorise that the rest of the fleet may be vulnerable to Control's influence, but I don't remember it even being addressed as an option. This is the biggest plot hole that, while watching the first time, I didn't really notice as I was enjoying myself, but on reflection, it's pretty apparent. It just seems odd that the writers could go to such lengths to address issues within the storyline, and address them well I might add, and then miss this quite large one. Also, as of the operation's beginning, the spore drive will be offline. It's getting the Superman treatment, I see. For those not familiar with the phrase, it stems from the idea that Superman was so overpowered that he has to be continually handicapped or nerfed to make for a tenser situation. Many of these issues in Discovery could have been avoided by simply sporing to the other side of the galaxy, or even beyond the galaxy. From a narrative perspective, I won't be sorry to see it go. Though I noticed that as the spore network is being used as an energy source, it glows the same orange as the ISS Curran's reactor. Overall though, this was a great one. They spend a lot of time justifying their setup for the payoff next week, but on hindsight there is a gaping flaw in the go-it-alone mentality that Discovery is having right now. Still, overall a solid episode. Now all that remains is to see how this all wraps up. I'm not going to speculate about its direction, as the writers have proven that they enjoy throwing in curveballs, so for all we know, this could lead to the complete collapse of everything and Control wins, with all future Trek being set in a Matrix-style simulation. As if it was all fictional. Thanks for listening to my review, and I hope you'll stick around for the final part next week. Until then, I've been Rick, thanks again, and goodbye.